Gospel of Ruth. So I am still just getting past the introduction and the first few pages of this book. And interesting enough, I did not know this, but the book of Ruth was written from the perspective of her mother in law, Naomi. And it talks about her husband, her sons, her moving from Judah into the land of Moab, her losing her husbands, her losing her sons, having to move back, her daughter, one of her daughters in laws leaving. But interestingly enough, they characterize or compare Naomi as a female Joab, or not Joab, but a female Job. And I didn't know this, but it's kind of accurate, which is true, because she lost everything. She lost her husband, she lost her home, she lost her sons. And in an ancient society which she lived in, males were dominant then, and so to have a son was everything, and to have a man at that time was everything. And with neither, she was left destitute. So she was going to go back to her homeland to fend for herself. And it talks about all of the challenges. Like she was left with her two sons, and her sons were not at the age they could marry, to my understanding, when she lost her husband. And so she had to wait for them to grow up. And we read the story in the Bible that this took place in one chapter. But the loss that Naomi experienced was over a period of years, losing her hometown and having to move, losing her husband and having to raise her two sons, and then raising her two sons. And after her two sons were raised, her two daughters-in-law, Orpha and Ruth, they were both barren for 10 years. And she began to go through everything which you can imagine, questioning God. Why have you taken everything from me? Why am I struggling? Why am I going through such hardship? And after that, her two sons die, and one of her daughter-in-laws leaves, and she is at rock bottom and has nowhere to go and nothing to do. And she decides to go back to her hometown, and her daughter-in-law Ruth, as a stroke of pure faith, says, I'm going to follow you with everything and leave everything I know and be buried where you're buried, which is gutsy.